No matter how well trained people are, few can sustain their best performance on their own. That's where coaching comes in.
Minnesota State Statute 122.40A for the development of continuing contract teachers. This may be a developed protocol of teacher evaluation and peer review process for probationary and continuing contract teachers. The process must include having trained observers serve as peer coaches or having teachers participate in professional learning communities to develop, improve, and support qualified teachers and effective teaching practices to improve student learning and success.
When peer evaluation was first put into place, some teachers were a little bit apprehensive, and there was pitfalls that we faced. And over time, things are beginning to change. Through peer coaching, teachers are starting to realize what actually makes a successful teacher, just like John Hattie's 8 mind frames from Visible Learning. Mind frame number 1. Teachers and leaders believe that their fundamental task is to evaluate the effect of their teaching on students' learning and achievement. This directly connects to setting goals. Mind frame number 2. Teachers and leaders believe that success and failure in student learning is about what they as educators did or did not do. We are the change agents. Coaches help them see what they're doing that is working and what they're doing that needs improvement. Mind frame number 3. Teachers and leaders want to talk more about the learning than the teaching. This could not be more evident than what we experience day in and day out with peer evaluation and coaching. The good news is that shift happens. Studies have shown that 90% of error in thinking is due to error in perception. If you can change your perception, you can change your emotion, and this can lead to new ideas.
We are seeing a positive shift. Teachers are willing to take risks more now than ever before. Teachers are collaborating with their peers. Teachers use data with intention. They're seeking out interventions, research-based ideas that will improve instruction and drive student learning. Teachers are participating in professional development opportunities by even creating their own. We're seeing ed camps pop up. We're seeing teachers create their own professional development after school and take advantage of learning from one another. Bottom line, teachers are opening their doors to new ideas.
The following interviews are from teachers of Bloomington, Minnesota and Kasson-Mantorville, Minnesota, 2 very distinctly different cities in the same state, who are realizing they're having extremely similar positive experiences with peer coaching.
And thinking about all my reasoning behind what I'm doing. I think especially after having taught for so long, I instinctively do things, and even though I think about why I'm doing things, I always think about why I'm going to do something. I don't know, it's become more of an instinct over 15 years, like I'm going to do this because I know this will work in this situation. But when I talk to a peer coach, it gets to like, well, why does that work in that situation? And are there other things that would work in that situation? And sometimes then it opens me up to doing things, even though what I'm doing might work, it gets me to start thinking about other things that also might work. Like I don't get stuck sort of like in the same rut. I love that when we meet and talk about my lessons, I can see all the good things that I am doing, because I guess I don't ever really take time to think about that. I just sort of do things, and then it turns out good or it turns out okay, but when we talk about it, I see like, wow, I really connected this to that well, or I see the places where I could have done something differently. I could have done this earlier or later, or just talking gives me a new example I can bring up, new strategies I could use. So it really helps me get to the underlying meaning behind what I'm doing, instead of just doing what I'm doing instinctively, I guess.
I really appreciate the fact that with the QComp teacher peer evaluation, that we're being evaluated by teachers. It's teachers who observe us. So it's someone who has not been out of the classroom very long, someone who knows where the kids are at today, knows what's going on in education today. So I have really found this last few years the feedback to be highly relevant.
both new teachers and veteran teachers because they learn from each other. And the veteran teacher who is observing the newer teacher can go into a classroom and learn from that new teacher that will bring in new ideas, fresh ideas to the classroom. And then when they meet later on to follow up, give constructive criticism and feedback and learn from each other in the whole process.
Feel that our teachers were not as good at taking risks, or comfortable, I should say, taking risks in the classroom, or with their lesson planning, or with their peers or their dyad partners. So, for example, they were a little bit more defensive when we would come to observe their class. It felt more evaluative, and they're wanting to have the right answer or the wrong answer, and it felt evaluative to them. Now, since we've had peer coaches in which they have been able to help our teachers take risks and explore ways to do it better, and maybe even now they've opened the conversations to being able to go to one of their peers and say, hey, how do you do this? Because I feel like, that would be an area I need some growth. So when I go into observe now, it doesn't feel as so evaluative for them. We can get into some really good reflective conversations about their work. And that is different because they feel more comfortable and confident in being able to take risks and being able and okay by saying, I didn't do that very well. Or, well, that part went really well, but I really now know what I needed to do to make the lesson better.
Thank you.
A person who is helping them develop the skill that we're focusing on, how to help kids learn. And having someone spend their entire time focusing on learning and getting better at that makes somewhat of an expert. Whereas an administrator, that's one of your jobs. And it's hard sometimes to get to some of those things because you're pulled in many directions. So you have someone that really knows the stuff, and if you have a good relationship with them and understand and trust them, it can be very powerful. The second thing is having a person that is for a colleague. They tend to take it more as coaching and not as an evaluative piece. And our QComp coaches have been very good, including Molly, have been very good at approaching this in a way that isn't daunting for teachers, but more guiding them along and getting them excited about their craft. And having that is priceless for a principal because, again, this is one part of our job, probably the most important job, but also having someone that they can connect up and relate to, and it isn't their boss looking at them, it's someone that is a colleague.
Engaged in peer review, they are able to learn from each other, and I think that there's a lot of sharing that goes on. I think that the teacher that's going in and doing the peer review actually probably comes out even ahead because they're learning from the teacher that they're watching, and they're able to take those strategies and the things that they see back to their classroom as well. But I think it's really about the conversations that teachers have, and we no longer close our doors. We teach on our own in isolation, that we're working together, we're trying to get better. And I think that when we do peer review, teachers learn from each other, and then they're able to take that information back into their PLCs and have conversations and discussions about different strategies that have been working with kids and how they can continuously improve.
I think author Atul Gawande summed it up best in his article, The Coach in the Operating Room, from The New Yorker, October 3rd, 2011. The concept of a coach is slippery. Coaches are not teachers, but they teach. They're not your boss. In professional tennis, golf, and skating, the athlete hires and fires the coach, but they can be bossy. They don't even have to be good at the sport. The famous Olympic gymnastics coach, Bela Karolyi, couldn't do a split if his life depended on it. Mainly, they observe, they judge, and they guide.